My name is Nate Bridges. I am an account executive at NavVis. I cover the Gulf Coast territory. I'm also our subject matter expert on process industry specifically. So NavVis, let's see if I can get, there we go. NavVis, hopefully some of y'all have come out to our booth. We are a mobile mapping solution accompanied with cloud-based processing and hosting. It's very cool technology. If you haven't seen it, come on out to booth 413. What we're going to be talking about today, this is a very unique use case for our technology in the process industry. We have the honor of having Brandon LeBrun here with us. He's the president of Primal Technology Services. And Brandon he's been in laser scanning for a decade plus. About 10 years now. Yeah. And so he's been running very large-scale projects in the process industry for a very long time. Some of the largest terrestrial-based projects that I've seen. Before you come up and speak, if anybody would like, you can get the QR code. You can actually get an augmented reality version of the VLX, and you can see that in front of you on your phone if you'd like to snap the QR code. This particular use case that we're going to be speaking about today is in capital projects. So this is a major capital project where Brandon implemented our technology, and he's going to speak through that for you.
Appreciate that, Nate. The warm introduction. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for my time to be up here, and I'm looking forward to talking with you guys for just a couple minutes on this project that we executed last fall, and have a couple follow-on steps to come up with here soon, but let me get right into it. All right, so as Nate said, my name is Brandon LeBrun. I'm the president of Primal Technology Services, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about implementing mobile mapping during early phases of industrial projects and then supplementing that data with static scanning on the back end. So for this use case, we were approached by a client, an EPC, that had a couple of requirements that they were looking for. They wanted a comprehensive scan that was done early in the project lifecycle. So in the industrial sector, one of the things that we've run up against constantly is this balance of how much cost do we have, or how much are we able to spend at certain phases in the project, and how do we reduce our scope to be able to fall in the right price bracket but still be able to have all the information that we need to get the project done. So this is kind of the problem that we're trying to crack here, and the VLX mobile mapping seems to be a good fit for it. So the client requirements that we had here, one of the requirements was it had to be comprehensive. So they wanted the entire unit scanned, and then they wanted about 6,000 linear feet of pipe rack. Along with being comprehensive, it had to be time and cost effective because we were trying to get it so early in the project. It had to be user-friendly, so that everybody in the project could use it during the planning phase. And sometimes in this phase, we're not always giving the data out to seasoned point cloud users, so it's not just your piping guys and your civil and structural guys. There's all kinds of different folks that can touch this data. So it had to be user-friendly, and the accuracy had to be good enough to use for planning, okay? So that was one of the key issues when we came in, was where's the accuracy requirements? And we decided that, hey, this needed to be accurate enough to plan with. Mobile mapping kind of lit up for us as maybe this is the right technology to use for this project. So some of the benefits of early mobile scanning that we've seen, and this is kind of the whole, the whole problem is lined up right here, that we were able to capture during phase 2 instead of phase 4. So typically in industrial setting, you're looking at scanning, laser scanning down in late phase 3, early phase 4, when you're getting in a detailed design. But this case, we wanted to use it for planning. So we were able to get in on phase 2 for planning phase. Cost savings. So this scan costs about 48% less than a comparable static scan. So by comparable, I mean apples to apples, as far as the scope, all of the elevated work, all of the survey control that was implemented. So we saved roughly half. And then we were able to get that done in 60% less time on site than you would have seen with a static scan. Keep in mind that included survey control as well. So a couple considerations for mobile scanning on industrial sites. One of the biggest things that you've got to identify is what's your use case, right? What are we using this data for? And when we started talking about this project, it was clear that this data was not going to be intended to use for detailed design phase. Once we decided that, we needed to make sure that everybody that was going to touch this data understood the limitations that were there as well. So like I said at the beginning, you've got a whole width of people that are going to be using this particular data. Some people have never seen a point cloud before. Others are. They've been using point clouds for years now. They're used to using them in the PCMs and LFMs and cyclones and all these different products, right? So we had to make sure that those guys understand that, hey, this is not for your detailed design phase. This is for planning phase. And then what we do is plan on coming back at the later stages of the project to do the detailed design scanning. So that's where we're coming back in with static scanners, so we'll get that sub 2 millimeter accuracy that they require on the back end for their tie points and whatnot. Okay, this is a brief overview of the job. So you'll see we've got a substation up north, 6,000 linear feet of pipe rack, and then there's a NGL unit there in the center. So the whole project size was just under 1 million square feet total, about 350,000 square feet for the grade on unit area, not including all the elevated platforms and towers and whatnot. And then we had about 6,000 feet of pipe rack. So this screenshot here is a overview of what you what you see when you get in NavVis's cloud-based viewer, which is Ivion. So this is a 2D map. And you can see on there all of the little, I don't have a laser pointer, but all of the little black and white indicators or icons, those are all of our surveyed control points throughout the project. And then you'll see the blue squares, those are where the client is able to create points of interest in tags that they can identify certain pieces of equipment or areas that they're working on. And you can see that right there and quickly navigate throughout the entire project there on your 2D view. On the right, you'll see the stack with all of your elevation slices, so you can actually navigate through those quickly if you want to go check out the heater decks or the compressor deck or whatever it is that you're happening to look at. Here is a screenshot of how the measurement tool works. This was one of the things that was critical for them. They had to be able to use this data. It had to be easy enough where somebody could pick it up pretty quickly. So here you've got several basic measurements. It's not quite as in-depth of a tool set as you're used to seeing if you're using PCM or LFM, one of those, but it serves the purpose that they need for the planning phase of the project. And then here's a screenshot of how the points of interest look. So you can see we've got a piece of equipment there that they've tagged that's in the panoramic image. They can turn the pano off and turn the point cloud on if they so choose, and then be able to freely navigate through the point cloud. And then they're able to, once you create a POI, you can share that across the team. You can email that. It prints out PDFs of that screenshot, including a link. So whoever you send it to can just click it and bring it right to that point in the project. All right, a couple highlights so far that we've received back from our client, mostly concerning Ivion. One of the things that they love is that short learning curve that's associated with Ivion. They're able to disseminate this information to a large group of people, and it doesn't take a lot of training to get them ready for it. The remote collaboration is a big part of this. So being able to reduce your site visits, you're cutting travel costs, you're cutting the cost of safety training, and then exposure on site. As some of you guys know, if you're on these chemical plants or refineries, there are safety hazards associated with being out there. So not only the cost incurred from getting all the safety training, but the exposure to those possibilities is reduced. And then something that's often overlooked in this case is the burden that falls on the owner-operators when we're constantly having to send people out to check things, right? So you got all these planners, you got people working on these projects, and they're based all over the country. They're always having to run on site, take pictures. That means we got to get a visitor's badge, or we got to get badged in. We got to go talk to operations. We got to get a permit. Somebody's got to walk it down and show us. We got to make sure that everything is safe. So that is a huge time saver there. So this data, not everything that they're using for is not included here, but some of the highlights, they're using it for crane access planning. They're using it to review their bundle accessibility, layout options, and then for all the pipe rack area, they're looking at that for routing and for slot availability. All right, in conclusion, excuse me. The cost and time savings that we've seen with mobile mapping on the front end of these projects has really allowed us to get laser scanning into these owners and EPCs' hands much earlier than we've ever seen it before. By getting it to them earlier, it's more, your ROI is better, the usability of the scan data is increased, and then by coming back on the following end and scanning static, we're able to still maintain the strict accuracy requirements that a lot of our engineering clients are asking for when it comes to detailed design. All right, thank you all. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on the panel.